Hey all, welcome. So I've got my control rig up and we can see that she's breathing. And what I want to do is take this breathing setup and duplicate it and make it so she's blinking. So one of the things I wanted to show with the breathing setup first is that I have some information piping in through the ABP that controls the speed of um, the accumulated time here on this node, which basically increases or decreases how fast our character is breathing. So we can see that that's set to 0.5. So I'm watching this value from the ABP. We go to pi here. Okay, so it's 0.6. Okay, that's better. Now if we come over here, we have our character looking around and we're controlling her. So if we make her run, we can see how that value over there is increasing. And if we run long enough, it'll increase to some max value. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. We're looking at 3 now. So 3.2, 3.5, and there we hit it. So if we come back, we see how much more she's breathing now. It's like she's tired or something after that strenuous run. But we can also see in the control rig that that breathing value is decreasing. So if we come over here to the ABP and go to the anim graph, we will find somewhere, here it is, breathing. And then I'm piping in a value that says breathing speed. So if you come back to the control rig, when you create a variable, you can say pull this off and say promote to variable. And then here in the details, once we are not playing the game anymore, class defaults, there we are. We come over here to our blueprints section, we come to this new variable, and we see this list of toggles. What we want to do is say make that instance editable and compile. And then once you have your control rig in your ABP, we would say control rig here. We scroll down, we find our control rig. Here we say breathing. We post that in there. And open this up. We can see our new variables. So you can click those, and then now they're exposed to your ABP. Let's get rid of that. And we'll get rid of this too. Hook that back up, compile. As far as the breathing goes, in the ABP, this breathing speed variable, we'll find our references here. And we've got set breathing speed function here. We'll go into that. And here at the very end, we're setting our breathing speed. Let's open this up. So we've got an finterp here with our world seconds and our interp speed, excuse me, which is pretty low. And then we're piping in our breathing speed. So our breathing speed is constantly moving from one value to another. But what's our target? So just in case you don't know the way this works, we get whatever the value currently is, we interp it to our new target, and then we spit out a new value. And then that new value is now the old value. We set a new target, we interpret, and then that becomes our new value. So it's kind of like this circle of constantly changing values, setting it, getting it, changing it, setting it, getting it, changing it. So it's kind of like a clock. Okay, so first we have, for me, I'm looking at two different things. Am I on the ground or am I not on the ground? That's pretty easy. That one is a casting to your blueprint. Get our base player. And honestly, I think we can just do is moving on ground. There we are. And that's that value right there. Then we just say, is that true or false? So are you on the ground or are you in the air? And for this instance, we're saying that's true. And now I'm saying, are you running or are you sprinting? So we're doing some F interps here too. So we've got our interp speeds at 3. So if you're sprinting, it's true. We're going to set our speed to a max value of 4. And if your sprinting is false, we're going to set our speed to a max value of 6. And every time we change from sprinting to not sprinting, we're interpreting those values from 4 to 6 with an interp speed of 3. So it's pretty slow. Not as slow as this one. This helps us even it out a little bit more. So that's all we're doing there. And then if we're not on the ground, we have our speeds, and we're setting it to a minimum value of 1 and a max value of 6. So we're just hard coding those. And that's how we're setting our breathe speed. So here's the entire graph if you want to pause it. Okay, so let's go back to breathing. Now what I want to do is explain this graph real quick. So we're getting our bone. We're in the control rig. We're getting our transform bone. And we'll do this all from scratch when we're talking about the eye blink. So we're going to get our transform bone. I'm using the bone Spino 4. So let me see here if we can find it. Bones, all hierarchy. The Spino 4 is that one. Nope, that's 3. That's 4. That's the bone we're manipulating. So we're getting that bone. We're getting its current transforms. So transform is rotation, translation, and scale. And then we're setting that transform here. We're not doing anything to rotation. We're not doing anything to translation, but we are doing something to the scale. And since we're piping this scale directly into here, we're getting the exact scale from our bone animation, bringing that over here, and then now we're scaling it by a factor of this mumbo jumbo right here. So we're taking this curve value here, and we're adding it to some sort of noise randomness here. And then that'll be our factor that goes into the scale. So if we were to just take this fully here, then it just does exactly what this curve does. So all we're doing here is adding just a little bit of variety to what this curve is doing, since we're just using one curve to handle this motion. You can play with these numbers here to figure out what it is that you like. So we've already looked at the speed and how if we increase the speed here, if we go to 4, then we increase the rate at which she's breathing. And we'll pipe this back in. And what this does, this right here, basically this plays 1 second at a time. That's how I look at it as an animator. And then this one And we can set some values here to change the minimum and the maximums here. Again, we can just play with those values if you like to figure out what those things do if you want to repeat this setup. So next thing is that every time, this is like a clock too. So this modulo node says every time you get to this value right here, it resets back to 0. So if you want to make this slower, say we set that to 5, then it'll play it once, and then it won't play it again until this number, this accumulated time, gets to 5. So back to 1, faster, 0.25, even faster, go to 1. Okay, so that is our breathing. And we're going to use that as a foundation to make our eye blink. So if we want, we can start from scratch. Let's get rid of this change here. We're going to say breathing and remove that change. And hopefully it won't crash. So now, if we want, let's turn off bones here. None. There we are. So now what we can do is, I already have an eye blink control rig here, but if we wanted to, we can right click, search for a control rig, create a control rig here, create, name it whatever you want, double click that to open it, go to our rig hierarchy over here and import, and we hit our hero girl SKM over here. And then that's going to bring in our character. Another way to do that is if you're on your mesh, you can just right click on your SKM, create, come down here to control rig, and it'll do the same thing. So we go back to the one that's already named the way I want. We're going to start from scratch. So we want to get the bone, so get transform. So this is going to be the bone that we want to modify. And here, if you have some eyes already, which I do, we take our eyes, we just say eyeball left. And then what we want to do is set transform for that same bone. Eyeball left. So if we open this up, we know we don't want to change the rotation for an eye blink. And we may not want to change this either. But you can see that right now we already have, whoop, slow that down, there we are. So since we're not piping anything into scale right here, or maybe we moved it, that's what it is. We weren't doing anything with our translation. Our scale is the same, but we can just come in here and mess with some of these values to see what they do. So if we type 0.5 here, we can see that that changes our scale from left to right. 0, there we are. Go back to 1, let's see what y does. 0.5, it's the depth. Maybe they are a little too big. Let's go back to 1 and see. 0.5, that's our height. That's what we want to be modifying. And I guess the question is, do we want to modify our, we get rid of this. Let's see here, type these in. Just want to see, the Z is not where it should be. I type 100. Where did it go? Ah, there it is, right there. So we can affect the Z also. So we hit add here. If we just want to touch the Z. So as we blink, we can say it moves down 2. So -5. That's too far, -2. Ah, there we are. If this goes to 0, there we are. That can kind of be where the blink works out. So next thing we want to do is create our scale here on how we're going to scale this. So we're going to have our values here. Let's pipe that in here. And we're going to pipe that in here. So now everything's reset. And we actually want to get that here. We're just going to affect the Z here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add to that. Because we want our 2 nodes here. We want our noise float to add some randomness, and we want our evaluate curve to get our animation. And then to animate it, we're going to bring out our Modulo, and then we're going to bring out our accumulated time. So now we can see that it's animating. And it's just doing what this curve is saying here. Just going from 0 to 1. And then we're going to, I'm flying kind of blind here because I haven't done this yet. So I'm doing it for my game, same time as you're watching me do it. So we're going to add a curve, a key here. So since it's getting bigger, we don't want it to get bigger. We actually want it to get smaller. We set 0 here. See what happens. So it's increasing and decreasing back in size. I'm going to set this to, we know we want this to be a 2.0. We're just going to add a comment, say -2. Get this back to 0. That we're in the right spot. Bring these out a little bit. Then let's see, what do we want to do? We want to say, get this to 0. Or get this to where it looks like a blink. Okay. So it looks like this noise is adding in some variety to how that blinks. But we may not want that. So right now, all I'm doing is I'm just dragging this down just to see where like a good blink shape might look. And because it's a blink, maybe we don't want the noise here, but we know that we can add it if we need it. Okay, that makes more sense now that we've gotten rid of the noise node. Oops, keep moving my mouse out of that screen. There we are. So 0 is closed. And then a 1 would be just normal. So there's our blink. And we want a 1 again. So we want to just find the timing that we want. Let's change this into, so you can right click and change this into a constant, or if you're from Maya, that's a stepped key, and a stepped key there. So we're just blinking on and off. We just drag these keys over, let's say it takes 0.25 to blink, and then we want to hold it for say another 0.25, but maybe more, so we're going to move this over. Now we've got a blank. Cool. It might be a little bit too long, so let's say 0.45. There we are. And now that we have our timing there, we want to, I'm going to go ahead and change these back to curves. I actually am going to move in another one here, and then change that to R0. So it's blinking a little slow, holding a little long. So usually on blinks, what I try to do, we're just going to animate this in the curves here. Or it blinks really fast and kind of hold that. Let me see, can we break this? Yes, we can. And let me see, can I, once I break it, there we are. 1, 0, 2, 3, 4. Make that linear there. But then I can't break it. So break it. That's too bad. If I break this one, I guess this is the reason why I like to just add keys. Sometimes you don't get what you want. So we're holding a little too long here. So we'll do the same thing here where we'll kind of slow out and we'll overshoot just a little. So cool, we're getting that blink going. Just a little cartooniness into there, maybe a little less. Okay. Maybe we overshoot it just a little bit here, just for funsies. Okay. I think that's good. So let's stay with that. So let's see what these do. Source maximum, source minimum. What's this say? Float values. Looks like it's like a scale on the time. If I increase this time for the same. Okay. Just fun things to play with. And I guess like depending on certain modes of your game, maybe like low light scenarios, you can change some of these values. Add in another one here where like we add 0 here. So like say we add 5. Oops. Add a -5. Whoops. Actually, maybe it's a multiply that we want. Multiply. I'm thinking like if she's adjusting her eyes to like a low light scenario or a highlight scenario, she may want to squint a little bit. So you can pipe a value here into this multiply from your ABP that says, of course, you're going to need to know when you're in a low light scenario. So I'm not quite sure how you're figuring that out, but just something to keep in mind there. Let's keep that there. And I think we'll get rid of this noise for now. So let's change this back to 1. So what we want to do on our modulo is get a random number here. So 0 is basically it's not playing it. 1 is it's resetting it at 1. Every time our accumulated time reaches the value of 1, this thing will reset it to a 0. Let's say it could be a 1, so we're blinking basically every second. Or we can say it's a 7, and I believe what we want to do is get rid of our duration here. So it's anywhere in between those numbers. I think duration, use 0 for a different number every time. -1 results in infinite duration float. So I don't quite understand that, but that's okay. Let's play with it. So 0, duration of 1. Just watching the randomness. Let's pipe it up to a 5. And let's go ahead and save this, because I haven't saved. Just watching that eye blink. We're just getting random eye blinks now. So we've animated something. I think some of the best ways to get a good organic result is to have an animation and have that play procedurally through a variety of values. So you can control what it looks like and the frequency at which it can be played, but you don't control ultimately what the end result looks like because you're applying random values to it. But that's what gives us our coolness there. Our, what is the word I'm looking for? I'll find it later in my head. I can't find it right now. Immersion, that's the word. So I think that adds a little bit of immersion to your game. Whether it's a cartoony game or a realistic game, I think being immersed as a player is a wonderful experience, one that we should be striving for and going for. So we change the speed here, get a random note again, change the speed. Now you can see it's changed quite a bit. So let's change the duration back to 0, just to see where these go. So 0 and 1. There it went finally. We go back to 1 and 1. Let's change this. So 1 and 1 and 1. That way we can actually see this thing in action. Let's just go back to 0. Definitely slows it down. And let's go to 5. This looks like it's probably just in between these two, I guess. Let's set a duration of 2, 5, and nothing's changing. -1. Maybe it's this minimum value needs to change. 0, 5. No. Just want to see. I need a value here. And then clamping it. So I need to bring something else in. Min max. Maybe, but let's try to see if we can get some results here that we like. Duration 10. Down to 2. Go to 0. Doesn't seem to be changing much of anything. Can I watch this value? I know what it's doing. So yeah, it's just halving it. I do 5 here. Still just a half. What was this one? Watch that value. Oh, did that change? 4.5? Yeah, they are changing. The duration at which changes. Ah, there we are. That's changing a lot faster now. So I guess it's like once every 1 second it changes. So that's good to know. Get rid of this again. Where did we like it? 5. Just going to keep that value for 5 seconds. Cool. I'm glad we can watch these results to see what we're actually getting here. Let's hook this back up. Okay, so this is just controlling, doing the same thing. We're saying minimum value of 1 and max value of 3. We're holding whatever random number we have for 5 seconds. That's cool. Okay. I guess I wouldn't need this then. Let's say a max value of 1. So that's just going to keep it higher. Let's say 4. Okay, so just finding some numbers, working through it, just talking through kind of what is my headspace right now. So let's clean this up. Let's get the other eye going. So let's save this. Let's see if I can make this a function. Collapse the function. There we are. We're going to say save this. Go to the blueprint. Where's the bottom of this? There it is. Open that up. New function. We're going to say eye blink. Go into there. We're going to call this scale X, scale Y. We're going to say scale Z. Oops, I didn't save those. Scale and scale. There we are. And compile, save. Now that we've got that going, we can let's play with this for a second. So we have 5 here. Ha! Nice. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Maybe let's just play around with it, see what happens. This noise value. We're going to say speed of, let's watch this value. Speed of 5. Okay. So now that we know what sizes we're getting, say 1 and 1. So we're not getting any different sizes. 2. Okay, interesting. And say that's a lower frequency, 1, 0.95, 1.05. Not that we would want the eyeball doing that, but interesting to know like what we're capable of here. Let's just leave that float hanging around. Okay, stop watching that. Save, file. And then what I want to do is, let's see here. Object function. Let's go into here. We're going to say we want, I think we can get that here. Name. And type. Let's swap those. We have, this should be bone. This should be bone name. And we're going to do bone get bone name. Looks like I put an extra B in there. Bone name. There we are. So bone and bone name. And bone and bone name. Compile. Save that. So there we are. Now we do this again. And we have bone name right. And now they're both blinking. So very cool. Very happy about that. Well, let's look at it in the game. Let's save that. We're going to come back to our animation blueprint, go to our anim graph. We're going to duplicate this control rig, and we're going to get rid of this comment. We're going to change out our control rig to be, where is it? Here it is. Eye Blink. Actually, let's just do this from scratch. Control rig. I don't have to deal with any of that. And Eye Blink here. Let's move our breathing one over. Get our eye blink in there. Compile. Save. Let's zoom in on our character here. Blinking. Nice. Then let's play the game. And look around. Now we have some blinks. Might want to modify it, considering how far away we are from the camera. Let's look here. Cute. All right, let's look at our control rig again one last time. So we made a function. Oops, did I? Oh, this new function. We'll call this eye blink animation. Is it gonna crash? And it did. So we're restarting. Sometimes that happens. That's okay. I think we got through most of everything. But let's open it up, check our work, because this could happen to you. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Let's see. I don't want that control rig. Restore selected. Could not be successfully controlled. Remove vision control. That's okay. I'm not using anything right now anyway. Okay, we're almost done. Just waiting for this game to load back up. Let's see where we are. Let's just play. See if we've got our eye blinks in there. Yeah, we do. Sweet. Okay, let's go back to our control rig. CRI. There we are. I just wanted to rename these and see if we can do that. Eye blink anim. Eye blink. Oh, it crashed again. All right, let's do this one more time. Sometimes it's good to name your functions when you create them. But let's just pretend I'm going to rename this function so we can get through this final step of concluding our control rig graph and looking at it again. Okay. As soon as it recognizes my clicks, will or not. Okay, and we're blinking. Good. We're getting our control rig open. Okay, let's just pretend we call these eye blink. All right, so we got our eye blink functions. We're piping our bone and bone names in there. We're setting our transforms. We're getting our transform and then we're setting it. We're piping our bone name and bone type in there. We've added some functionality here if we wanted to move the eye blink down while we're animating. We could do that. Let's see what happens if we just take that from here and pipe in the Z value. It looks like it went up. Since we're changing one, we change both. So -5, so 0. We go to this eye blink here. Basically want to be moving that eye blink down at the same time. So let's say we just do 1. We're going to get a result here. We're going to call this we would need different values here, I think. So all we want to do is move it down while it blinks a little bit. Let me figure out in my head how we might want to do that. So same thing, we're going to add here. So yeah, let's duplicate that. New function, eye blink, down. We're just going to take this, I'm going to copy. We probably would want to create our curve outside of this now. Promote to variable. Probably not. See if our undos crash this. Nope. Okay, we got lucky. Yeah, we probably want to create this curve outside of control rig if we're going to be using this curve in more than one spot. So we want all these same values here. What we're going to do is, instead of a multiply, we're going to do an add. From here, do add. We're going to pipe this out as our result. And we're going to do add here. Oh, I think we're already doing an add someplace else, which would be in our new function here. Blink down, new function, my blueprints. I am not super familiar with all the ins and outs of control rig. I'm trying to figure out why I've got execute nodes here. And not on, say, this one. What am I doing here? Yeah, this one's a pure function. I don't know why this one is not a pure function. So we're going to come here, here, and here one more time. Whoops. Don't need those executes. Ah, there we are. So we just want that result here. Looks like it's going up. We don't want that. Okay, now we see what it's doing up and down. We just don't want it that high. So we want to take these down to 0 so that they go down when it blinks. I want that going down more here. So let's, can you scale this? Bring this down. So it's going to be a really small thing, clearly. Just move these down a bit. now we can really see that. Move these back up. Oops, where'd they go? Now we're at 8. Just want to feel them moving down a little bit. See how far they are moving. May just need to offset that. Let's reanimate this. So that's better. Let's add a key here. What's that? Let's say these are 0, 0, and 0. Whoops. I'm just pushing it down a little bit. So let's say -2 here, and a -2 here. And make sure these curves are the correct type of curve. We're just getting some bounciness there, so they don't feel static in place. Let's try -1.5. Cool. Very cool. Okay, let's compile, save. And now that we just did that in our function, so we come back here to our new function, then both our eyes get it automatically. That's the fun part about working in functions. So we set -2 here. Should have known that. Let's get that deleted. Put this over here. Try to clean this up a little bit. Alrighty. So we're getting our bone transforms. We're setting those here outside our function. Then we're getting those values that we set here and putting them here to our get transform and our set transform. Then we're getting our rotation. We're getting our translation XY, so we're not moving left and right or forward and backward. And we're getting our scale XY to be identical here. And then what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of down motion when we blink, and then we're adding our scale when we blink too. So we did that through our animated curve here. We did that through our modulo and our accumulated time here. And we're adding in our random values for speeding it up and resetting that curve value back to 0. The same thing with our eye blink animation. And we left a place here where we could multiply that by a value. So let's say 0.5 if we wanted to. Say there's something really bright in the game, which is squinting. We've got our animated curve here, piping into our multiply for our z value. Then we have our modulo resetting our randomness that we're getting those values here too, so we probably variabilize these as well. I think that's it. So if we come here, let's go ahead and variabilize these. So let's copy this. We come back to our forward solve here. Maybe not our forward solve, maybe our construction script, but I'll just try it here real quick. I'll paste those. I'll say promote to variable, random results here. And not super clean. But then we can get our, this would be our random speed. Random speed and our random modulo. compile, and save. And now we're using those values here. We're setting them once in our functions. Link down, random speed, random modulo, compile. Great. And then we play. We look at our eye blink. All right, thanks for sticking with me and through all those crashes. Hopefully that gets you to where you want to be in your journey. Happy animating.